This is Big 3 IDP.
Catch us in the league going in every week, racking them points up. Who got the streak? Cause we joking and having some fun. Yeah, this how the crew getting it done. I'm talking Josh, Adam, and Connor. Yeah, this a command and conquer. Hard hitting, the IR's real. This football, yeah, you know the deal. Cause it's all about the defense and the TDs. Yeah, this is Big 3 IDP.
What's up, you diehards, you degenerates, you lovers of defensive football? This is Josh Raymer, and we are back with another episode of the Big 3 IDP podcast. And I'm joined tonight in StreamYard by a couple fellow degenerates who might just be wiring me some money to gamble for them in Las Vegas this weekend. It's Adam Markham and Connor Raymer. Gentlemen, how are we this evening?
Doing wonderful. We're all having to quarantine again. We were all exposed.
This is just
exposed.
This
Not
is
like
just
it
how it
going-
goes.
Yeah, not like going viral for the wrong reasons. Exposed, like exposed to the Rona.
Yeah.
Not like Old Takes Exposed, which I just shudder ending up on that site one day.
We could get canceled though. We all did. We were breaking the rules. We shouldn't have been doing what we done. I mean, we had a little gathering on New Year's. It would have been frowned upon.
Yeah, we had a kissing, a big group kiss at midnight. Just
triple kiss.
Like a quintuple kiss,
Oh, yeah,
octuple
sure.
kiss. Yeah, the whole group.
Yeah, eventually it moved on to a lot more people getting involved. But yeah, there was definitely us three going at it hard
Yeah.
for a
Well
little
done,
bit.
Spider-Man style, upside down. in the
Sure.
rain.
Yeah. Spider-Man kiss. Got to do it.
Happy
That's
New Year.
What other way is there to ring in the new year?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know if there's another way to ring in the new year than Spider-Man triple kissing your best friends.
Couldn't be me.
I don't want to live in that world.
Your podcast co-host.
Yes, exactly. So now we're having a quarantine, but we're still going to bring you guys an episode because there is some excellent football right around the corner. We have the Super Wild Card Weekend coming up this weekend, fellas. A back-to-back triple header of games that I am personally very excited for. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be breaking down each of those games, just kind of having some fun, previewing those matchups, and also talking about Addy's IDP Fantasy Playoff Rankings, which you can view for free over at big3idp.com. Addy, we thank you for your service.
It's my pleasure.
Like Chick-fil-A over there. Just my pleasure all day.
Do you boys like that?
Like what? When they say my pleasure?
When they say that.
So I always try to get them to say something else. Like I'll say thank you in a different language just to see, and it scrambles them a little bit. They don't know what to do.
So what do you do, Josh?
Fluent in like 3 different languages to try to counteract. Like nothing surprises me with them. I mean, it's legitimately incredible to see. Like, oh, our drive-thrus are too backed up. Well, that's no problem. We'll just make everybody work outside and build a covered outside area with like tablets and headsets. And it's just like, it's just the restaurant game perfected. So here's my first question I'm going to lead off with, guys. Should have been at the top of the notes. What's your go-to Chick-fil-A order? Adam, we'll start with you.
Before we get into that, I want to also kind of let people in on something I've been doing lately. It's with the curbside pickup, where I order ahead on the app.
Done that.
You can be a lot more selective with your sauces and your size and whatnot. Not like they ever mess up stuff anyway, but you can you can assure that you get 2 things of the sweet and spicy sauce, 2 things of the honey mustard sauce, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just nice not having to deal with the line. You pull right in, put in your space number, and it's usually quicker. They're out in like 5 minutes. So they perfected everything. But go to order for breakfast. I've been back on the chicken biscuit lately. I've been big on that. Bomb, just so
What about
good.
lunch, like lunch stuff. Like, what's your go-to lunch order?
Lunch. I'm a nuggie boy. I like the nuggies. I think the nuggies are where it's at. I mean, everything's so good. Even the sandwich is good. But I think the nuggies are my favorite item.
Yeah, it depends on how fat I want to feel. I'll go 8 or 12 count nugget, fry, Chick-fil-A sauce, Coke Zero, and just a slap on the face. Thank you very much. My pleasure. Well,
I didn't want to say mine. It's shameful.
Connor does a double 12 count with 2 large fries and a milkshake.
So our branch here, and I'm sure a lot of other places do it, they do a family count that's, I think, 20 or 30 nuggets.
30 for sure, yeah.
It's 30, and I think it's like $15. You know, it's not horrible.
It's a good deal.
Over $15. And, of course, the boys will eat a handful of those. That's just always what I tell myself. But what ends up happening is Dad gets his usual, which is Chick-fil-A sandwich, no pickles, add cheese. Typically like to do pepper jack. Fries with Diet Coke or Coke Zero. And then I probably end up eating on average, I'd say somewhere around like, I don't know, 10 nuggets after that with it from the boys' meal. That's just part of being a dad. That's just why I look the way I look. But you can't go wrong, nuggets or sandwich. Becca gets their salad, and it's their salad's hella good.
It's all good.
There's not they have the best fast food mac and cheese, like, by far. Like, I don't think there's anybody even close to them right now.
Haven't had it. Gonna try it at some point.
Wow, you haven't had that? You're not a Mac boy?
I am, man, but their fries are so good. That's what I was gonna ask y'all. I mean, I know some people that are like, dude, I'm going and I'm getting nugs and mac, and I'm putting the nugs in the mac.
It's a great choice. Can't go wrong.
Like a KFC bowl without the mashed potatoes. I could see somebody getting like Josh mashed potatoes from KFC. Maybe a little. Put this in the tickler file, Josh. Go get like some KFC mashed potatoes, and then go get the mac and cheese and nugs from Chick-fil-A, and have you like an upgraded KFC bowl.
Make an evening of it. Maybe go down to Taco Bell, get you a Baja.
This is a beautiful mind.
Now you're living. I mean, now you're speaking my language. You've got, dishes from different restaurants. You've got Baja Blast in the mix. I mean, this is an ideal scenario.
This is a last meal type situation.
This is. I want them to go to as many restaurants as possible so that it commutes my stay just a little longer on this planet.
Yeah. Some good podcast time for you if you're getting to like ride around with them while they're picking up all the stuff. Look, I know a lot of people. They do.
Connor, you're in prison. You're not in the car with them.
Maybe they're letting you go out for your last meal.
Yeah.
But yeah, just ride around and just go visit it. But listen, people in society that are like men of size or women of size, that they are definitely living their best life when they're going around and going to like, whether it be somewhere local like Rafferty's and then going and getting fries from somewhere else like a Chick-fil-A or somewhere. I mean, I've heard of some crazy combos. I've heard of people getting Mexican food, queso, and some Mexican sides, and then going and getting like Americana type foods like burger and fries, and kind of just pairing that whole thing together.
My favorite is when people try to sneak full-blown meals into the movie theater. And it's like, guys, like, that's Connor. Yeah, Connor's just like, sir, what's in that garbage bag you're dragging behind you? It's like, my diabetes needles.
The worst I ever did was my go-to Taco Bell order, which everybody knows is the number 7 with no lettuce on that soft shell taco with a Diet Coke or a Diet Mountain Dew. But I don't think I got the drink in. I got everything else in, like full quesadilla, full taco, like was hella stinky there in the front row area that I ended up having to sit at because I had insisted on going to Taco Bell and bringing it in the theater.
It's like a perfectly quiet movie, and Connor's just down there rattling the paper and just chomping on these tacos.
It's a noisy meal, Taco Bell.
Yeah,
the quesadilla is super noisy.
I was mouth breathing and like nose whistling just super hard down there, just putting away some of this stuff.
Everybody's like, "Shut up!"
Yeah,
you idiot.
Yeah, I was the original finger sucker, Josh. If you remember that guy.
Oh God. Well, now that we've officially driven everyone away with these gross stories of our horrific fast food takes, let's talk some football, fellas. This is, as we know, we just celebrated Black Monday. The Around the NFL podcast, our buddies, they like to call it the New Horizons Monday, so it's not like such a sinister negative connotation. But this is the Monday that all of the head coaches that are going to get fired in the NFL, this is typically when they're going to be let go if they haven't been let go already. So we have 6 openings in the NFL for new coaches coming in for the 2021 season. And so, fellas, I thought it might be fun to rank the most attractive head coach opening. So we have the Jaguars, Texans. Funny that we have half the AFC South getting new coaches. the Chargers, Falcons, Jets, and Lions. So, Connie, let's start with you. Give me your ranking, 6-1. How would you rank these teams in terms of how attractive they are for head coaching candidates?
All right, let's see here. Some decent options on here. So I would probably start with, I would probably say Chargers. No, take that back. I'm going Jags. I'm going Jags first. I think, if I recall correctly, they not only have, obviously, the first pick in the draft, I think they have the most money in the entire league. I believe they have some leftover picks from a recent trade that they had done to have some other like high first round, second round picks on top of this first round pick. I could be wrong on that.
No, they picked up a second with the Yannick trade, I think.
That's what I think it was.
Yes,
So-
and they do have the most cap space.
So I just don't think in that division, Deshaun is kind of a sinking ship. Unfortunately, it's sad to see what's happening. That J.J. Watt video of him kind of walking off the field being like, I'm sorry, man, we wasted one of your years. We should have 11 wins. I think that's just going to keep being the story there until they get a GM and a head coach and somebody takes control and plays adult in the room. Because they're a great option. I would probably take them at my second option, but that issue, the Texans, it takes them from first to second. So I'm going Jags first, Texans second, and they're second for all the reasons I just named. I think you could lose JJ. I think, Josh, you mentioned he could end up playing with his brother TJ there in Pittsburgh if he ends up leaving Houston. But when you have a guy like Deshaun, you always have a chance. The South is pretty wide open, depending on what the Colts do at quarterback and what Tannehill does with the Titans. So I'd put them at second. I'd put the Chargers at third. We'll have to see what they do to kind of fill Anthony Lynn's spot now that he got the axe today. I guess what would it be, like Black Tuesday, Black Monday?
I think he actually did get let go yesterday.
So Black Monday. So, regardless, the West a little harder there. So that's kind of why I drop him to third. I mean, when you have Mahomes there and Carr as well, depending on if he stays there in Vegas. There's some Denver I'm not so worried about. But when you look at the Chargers, that's what makes me drop them to third. So I would say after that, I would probably put the Falcons fourth. It's going to be interesting to see if they start to fire sell some of the assets they have there, whether it be Julio or Matt Ryan. So tough to tell there. Their division in the NFC South, again, a little harder to predict. I think Brees, as we know, is going to retire. What is Teddy going to do? Brady, does he have any time left? So a little more coin toss. I'd slot them there at fourth. This is kind of just a dealer choice here on this last toilet bowl of top 5 and 6 options. So I'm going to go Lions fifth, just purely based on what they have, assuming they don't, talking about fire sale with the Falcons, they don't do the same thing here with Stafford. I hope they do, because I'd love to see Indy get in the driver's seat for a chance with somebody like Stafford if Rivers doesn't want to come back or doesn't seem like he is the right fit for next year. So I'd slot the Lions there at fifth, depending on what they do to permanently replace Pencil Boy. If Rodgers keeps playing the way he does in the North and Minnesota gets back to normal like they played in the second half of the season, Bears are a playoff team. Look, it doesn't matter, right? So, and the Jets, they're talking about not mattering. That would be sixth to me. They're going to be an afterthought. It's not going to matter who comes here, who doesn't. They're cursed forever. Sorry, Jets fans. That's just the reality. Brady left, and you're just as bad and dysfunctional as you were before. The Gase hire was just an absolute atrocity. So Darnold's probably on the way out, and if Josh has his way, he's on his way to Indy. So that's my ranking. I don't know what y'all have it as.
I'm all in on Matt Stafford now. I saw we're the second favorite in Vegas behind the Lions. So all in on Matt Stafford. Let's go. Bring him to Indy.
Money on it while you're there.
Oh, I probably should. I absolutely will look into that. I'll just
Super
wish
Bowl.
it into existence. All right, Addy, you're up next. Rank it 6-1.
All right, for me, I agree with Connie on one. It's got to be the Jaguars. Just Trevor Lawrence, LaVisca, DJ Chark, James Robinson, Josh Allen on defense, Schobert. They'll bring in some guys with that cap room they have. That could be a Justin Simmons landing spot. Yeah, I mean, I like where they're headed. I mean, but the only hesitation really is that they've just been so dysfunctional as of late in the front office. And we've seen players, pretty much every player that's left there has been unhappy and had something to say on the way out. So that gives you pause, of course. Second would be the Chargers for me. We saw it there with Herbert. I think he's going to be elite. I'm worried about Jason Garrett coming in and potentially being a head coach. That's terrifying. But hopefully that doesn't happen. Great talent around Herbert, and also some of those young guys that got a chance to play, like out of Jalen Guyton, Johnson, deeper on the depth chart. Like some of those young guys, actually got a chance at some run, and looked pretty good. So they're deep there. I like that offense. The defense is fun and young. If Derwin James can stay healthy, of course. Third for me would be the Texans. Deshaun Watson. That's really what it comes down to for me. The quarterbacks and where you're projecting these quarterbacks to end up. The problem with Deshaun Watson and Herbert, Trevor Lawrence and all these guys now is they're all going to be in the same division. Deshaun Watson, that y'all are going to have a tough ass division with these quarterbacks in there now. So, and like we saw with the playoffs, there's all these teams that the Dolphins missed, and they were a 10 win team. So, that's going to be more of the same, I think, going forward. So Chargers would be my second, Texans third, fourth is the Jets. Hope they land Justin Fields, and I think that they've proven that they can be a decent team in the past. They've been in the playoffs before. I don't think it's that crazy to see them get back to decent football. Fifth for me would be the Falcons. They're just kind of in a bad spot. They're old. They're paying a lot of money to these older guys. I think Matt Ryan needs to be traded. Julio needs to be traded. I love Calvin Ridley. They have no running game. They have Deion Jones and Grady Jarrett, but they don't have a lot there. They just don't, and they're in a tough division as well. Yeah, I don't really like them. Six for me would be the Lions. It's the Lions.
Pencil Boy Stink is still all over that team.
Yeah, it's an easy job. Whoever goes in there, it's you're going to be looked at highly just because of the mess that was left and was there.
What's the opposite of big shoes to fill?
Yeah. We'll
workshop that.
Little infant shoes.
Yes, tiny newborn shoes that you put on for the picture at the hospital.
That dude sucks.
So I'll go 6-1 here. So I will start us off with the New York Jets. I think this team is really talent deficient on both sides of the ball. They have some interesting pieces. We love Denzel Mims. We love Quinnen Williams there has really broke out in his second season, which wasn't always a given when we were, looking at this upcoming season back in the fall. We thought, is Quinnen Williams going to pop or is he a bust? So they've got some pieces, but the cupboard is pretty bare there, and you just never know. Justin Fields looked good in the playoff game, but has had, from what I understand, kind of an up and down season. Of course, Ohio State only played 6 games this year prior to that playoff game. So you'll see kind of a theme here in that I'm not putting as much stock into these rookie quarterbacks. There was a good Twitter thread going around last week that talked about the hit rate for first-round quarterbacks over the past 5 years, and it's 50%. And so I'm not giving these stud rookies that are, allegedly coming out for this draft, I'm not giving them a passing grade or grading them really highly in terms of this is more attractive than what we know to be good. So Jets at 6, Lions at 5, like Addy said, kind of in a similar situation as the Jets. It's just a really, after Jim Caldwell, this franchise just had a stink on it. And it's the same with the Jets. This franchise seems to be stuck in mud. There's just not a lot to get excited about on the Lions, aside from a possible Tracy Walker resurgence. You had Romeo Okwara blow up. DeAndre Swift we all love. Kenny Galladay is great. TJ Hawkinson's good. So some more pieces there than the Jets, but this franchise is just cursed. They just have a stink on them that's just going to be really hard to get rid of. Fourth for me is the Falcons. Addy, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. They're just old. They have a lot of pieces that they probably need to ship off to begin the rebuild. What's nice about that one is that you have a GM that will be hired at the same time as the coach, so they're coming in together. It's always kind of awkward when, the coach and the GM don't line up, but you have, you're going to have some togetherness, some kind of unity there with the coach and GM in Atlanta. So not as many pieces as what these other teams have, just because I don't think the pieces they do have are going to be long for this team. You have Calvin Ridley. That's nice. You have Hayden Hurst, who's been decent this year. Like Addy mentioned, Deion Jones, Keanu Neal, Grady Jarrett. Some nice pieces on defense as well. But for third, I'm going with the Jags. Team is sort of like the Jets in that pretty talent deficient, but that number one overall pick, the potential to take Trevor Lawrence, who's one of the most highly sought after, highly prized quarterbacks since Andrew Luck. That's pretty nice. The one thing that gives me pause, Shad Khan, the owner, says that he is going to have full roster control there. So a little bit concerning, especially if you're the GM. Second place for me, the Texans, they actually just hired their GM. They hired Nick Caserio away finally from the New England Patriots, who was their de facto GM there. Of course, Belichick pretty much calls the shots in New England, but Nick Caserio was the guy that they tried to get in 2019 and got blocked by the Patriots. Patriots tried to hit him with a tampering charge, so they finally get their guy 2 years later. Fun story. The pastor that came over with Bill O'Brien, Jack Easterby, culture coach, pastor. You may have heard a little bit about this guy recently. The power struggle that existed within the Houston Texans organization was allegedly between Bill O'Brien and Jack Easterby. Easterby won. Bill O'Brien gets the boot. Now, there were some stories coming out, Mike Garafolo saying that Easterby's role in the organization not quite as pronounced as maybe what some insiders think. And then the story breaks tonight that the search firm that the Houston Texans had hired, Korn Ferry, to deliver GM candidates, they interviewed the 5 guys on that list for the GM job. Nick Caserio was not on that list. That was Jack Easterby's guy. So even though this search firm did not serve up Caserio's name to the Texans, this is who ends up getting hired. So there's some weird stuff going on in Houston. Just gives me a little pause, but you've got Deshaun Watson, who I think is a top 5 quarterback as far as we talk about dynasty for fantasy. That's a top 5 quarterback I want to build around. So that's number 2 for me. And number 1 is the Chargers. I mean, you've got a brand new, beautiful stadium. You're in Los Angeles. You've got Justin Herbert, who I think is probably, I would be as bullish as to say number 2 quarterback I want to build around right now behind Patrick Mahomes. I think that's up for debate, but I like him about as well as any quarterback prospect that we've seen in a very long time. And you have some nice pieces there as well. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler. You talked about Derwin James. Melvin Ingram, will he be back? We'll see. You've got Kenneth Murray in the linebacking core. So I think this is a primo spot for the next head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. So that's why it gets my vote for number 1, Eddie.
They're also cursed, though. You got to keep that in mind.
They are. A lot of these teams are cursed. Jets, Lions, Chargers. These were all buried on ancient Indian burial grounds, I think, or built
30-second timeout. Run it back to Houston. What the hell is going on? Is this the real skinny white guy that they put on the cover of a magazine recently, and they're like the secret head of the Houston Texans?
Yes,
that's him. Yep.
He's still there, right?
He's still there.
So what does he do?
He is he was like a culture coach, sort of like I almost
pastor,
took it. Yeah, he was a pastor, so like a team chaplain type of role, and they said he's essentially like the shadow GM, like he's the one calling the shots in Houston. And from what I understand, there was some infighting with Bill O'Brien. And when there's a power struggle, someone always loses. And Cal McNair, the owner, chose to keep Easterby around and showed Bill O'Brien the door.
So what does Easterby have on the McNairs or whoever
That's the
it is?
question. Hey, that's the question, Connor.
He knows where the bodies are buried, Connie.
Nudes of his 70, 80. You remember before the Bob McNair died, the Titans owner, it wasn't that right? The Titans owner that he was given the double fingers out the box during that game.
It's a classic.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Can we put that as a GIF, on one of the?
That should be like a profile pic for me at some point on Twitter.
Yeah, that's a good one, man.
That's a good one.
People forget about that.
Who is your Twitter Abby right now, Addy?
Oh, I can't pronounce the name. It is.
That's
I won't even attempt it. But it's it's a golfer, professional golfer.
Just ripping the hugest vape I've ever seen.
It's an awesome pick. Big fan of it.
If you haven't given Addy the follow yet, shame on you. But go check him out just for that Twitter Abby alone.
Yeah, I switch up the Abbies.
Just to circle back to what you said, Josh, on the Chargers with Herbert, you're taking him 2 behind Mahomes over Josh Allen.
I mean,
wow.
Yeah, that's. I could be swayed. I think it's really close. You see, just because he's younger too, right? I mean, he just broke the rookie touchdown record. Allen, I think he has shown incredible growth and evolution over these past 3 years. So, yeah, I mean, you could convince me to go Josh Allen too.
Hey, they got tape on Herbert now. I wouldn't expect it in year 2 now, Josh.
Year 2 regression.
Sir.
Unlike us, that exclusively do year 2 leaps.
Sure. Good point.
What's year 3 going to be like with all this new gear, like a new doormat coming into the Sode Shack? Hopefully none of us die from COVID, so knock on wood if you're with me.
Addy just wants to keep leap. He just wants to keep leaping.
Yeah.
Leaping.
Yeah, leg leaps. You can't do much better than that.
You definitely could. There are other verbs out there you could use, but we'll just stick with leap for now and keep workshopping it.
Don't want to risk it, Josh.
So that was the little look into the head coaching openings, the spots that we like there for the hot coaching candidates. We'll see who all. I think of the hot coordinators, I think you'll see Robert Saleh will land a job. I know Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator of the Titans, is getting a lot of love. Saleh's the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. It sounds like Urban Meyer has the Jags job locked up, which I think is good. I don't have any – Urban Meyer does not scare me at all. Dude's been out of football for a couple years and has never coached at the pro level. So bring him into the division, please. Yes, let's have another Nick Saban in Miami failed experiment, please, and thank you.
That's just the Florida connection, right?
He has to know Shad Khan. There has to be some kind of relationship there that's making him like they're not. This came out before any interviews were going on, so there's something there.
You guys remember you referenced Saban. Do you know who Saban wanted to take when he came to the NFL?
Urban.
Well, yeah, Justin Herbert. No, as a 4-year-old baby. No, he almost took Drew Brees, but didn't take him because of the shoulder injury.
Well, I don't think that was his choice from what he claims, at least. I don't think he was allowed to take him. He had to take who was it he ended up getting there? It was it Dante Culpepper?
Yeah, Dante Culpepper was there. I don't know if it was during Saban's tenure, but Brees was a free agent because he played – Brees was a free agent because they drafted Phillip Rivers, and Brees was coming off that shoulder surgery, so it was down between the Dolphins and the Saints ended up with Brees and pretty much spent the whole rest of his career there.
Yeah.
So,
but anyway, I think that first off, the fan base is going to love him. So, I don't know how close his ties were with, being close to Jacksonville. From his time in college football. But, I mean, if you get Trevor Lawrence and you can go out there and get the fan base going and you actually have something there. And like Markham said, that's why they were my number 1 team. They've got some weapons. I'm not scared of what Deshaun's doing and what the Texans are doing. They are dysfunction personified. I mean, if you want to look at what a team in that division is doing it the right way, it's Indy. Now, I don't think they have the quarterback, the hardest part figured out, but I think they have the coach and GM figured out better than any of these other dumpster fires. Besides the Titans situation's good across the board. Good team, good management, good coach. But yeah, I mean, between the Jags and the Texans there, it's really just a kind of just a cycle of attrition where they're just it's just a constantly eroding issue with a lot of things. But I think Urban Meyer could come in if you get Trevor Lawrence and everything else is laid out the right way. It's like, how bad could he screw it up? Essentially, the fan base is with you. You got a good quarterback. You got a good team. You've kept up with football because he was doing color analyst stuff. And I just don't think guys like that ever retire. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong and I'll eat my hat if I am, but he makes me nervous because there's a lot of wrong ways. It could have went way more wrong than a guy like Urban Meyer. Like, he's offensive minded. So I don't know.
I think he's fired in 3 years.
Maybe you're right. We'll have to see. Time will tell.
Don't forget though, I mean they have 2 second-round picks, right? Coming up. So I mean this is loaded offensive class, especially at the skill positions, especially at receiver. So I mean they can just continue to add to that room. Which I mean why not give this guy as many weapons as he as you can.
You got the most money, you got a ton of picks, you got a first-round pick, you're going to get Trevor, you're going to get 2 second-round picks. I'm telling you guys, Jacksonville, it's going to be hard. I guess my point should have been not that Urban Meyer is going to come in here and be some world beater. I don't think that's the case. But when the fan base is infatuated with you and you've been dealt a good hand in regards to your roster and your pocketbook as a team, hell, there's harder hills to sled is all I'm getting at here. So I don't know. He's been dealt a damn good hand. He's got pocket aces coming in here. So if he gets fired in 3 years, that dude can't coach at all. It's hard to mess this up.
Exactly. There's a reason why I'm sure there's mutual interest, for both parties.
He wants $12 million. I mean, yeah, there's that. He is leveraging the fact that they know that they're likely feeling like, hey, this is the best hand we're going to have probably in the next 20 years of this good a team that was competing in the AFC Championship 4 or 5 years ago. So, a lot of that team gone, obviously, but you've got some new pieces that have filled in since then. So I don't know. Well, Jacksonville is really interesting to me. They're in the AFC. They're kind of like the Bengals, depending on what they do. Another team that's got some good pieces, and they're going to have a high draft pick.
Yep. So we'll see. I mean, I think you're right. I think there is promise on the horizon. The Jags, another team that is in the search for a GM as well. So that's going to be interesting to see if there is friction between the GM and coach. It's nice when they come in on the same page, but of course the flip side of that is that you could potentially have a power struggle if the GM doesn't get to hire the head coach. So. And we'll see what Shad Khan, with his comments that he gets, final say over the roster, what kind of GM candidates they're able to get with that caveat there. So let's jump into some wild card weekend football, fellers. And, Addy, we're going to be weaving into our preview of these games your a fantasy playoff IDP ranks, which are free over at big3idp.com. So check those out. Always free, Addy.
Always free. That's what we do.
That's right. So, and we're going to kick things off with the Saturday games. And, boys, unfortunately, the Coats got stuck in the Bengals-Texans Saturday early slot that's reserved typically for what the media views as the worst matchup of the weekend. But we've got Coats, as Adam has here in the doc, at Bills, 12:05 kickoff. Buffalo favored by 7, over-under of 51.5. Connie, as the biggest Colts fan I know, kick us off with what you think about this game on Saturday.
Yeah, it's hard to argue the fact that why isn't the 7th seed playing at Buffalo going to be the Saturday noon game, right? The typical Texans and somebody else bowl that people are kind of sleepwalking through and getting their first drinks cranked up. So if you're the Colts, just like the run they made a handful of years ago, you've got to come in the playoffs and just play mistake-free football. I think the line opened at 6.5. It may have just moved to 7 or just be 7 at a few other areas, but I'd just be curious to see where the money is in terms of how others are looking at this game. Taking my rose-colored glasses off, Indy plays a great game. Their secondary still concerns me. Last week they had both Rock and Kari were both out, and it showed in some bad calls in the Pittsburgh game the week before, but they got burned then too. So it's hard to sit here and say that I don't think Josh Allen is going to do to them, what we've seen the last few weeks. That's kind of exposed that secondary because of their lack of a pass rush. So I am cautiously optimistic that if the Colts, and I kept saying this last week in the Jacksonville game, Josh, you probably heard it. Adam, you did too. I'm sure you were sick of hearing it. Is dance with who brung you. This is that's something I should have told Tom. It's not hard, dance with who got you there. So if it's running the ball and stopping the run and not asking Phil to make these big bomb throws down the field like they've asked him to do these last few weeks where he's had an odd late interception, I think if you take that out, you take out the weird, drive stalling stuff with Jacoby package once a game where he comes in on something other than 3rd and 1. I think you do those two things against the Bills, that's playing about a perfect game. So the Bills are going to get their points. I think that over-under is realistic. We'll see. I don't think I'm ready to say a score yet, even though this will be the only time the listeners will hear me and see me before then. But it's going to be a close game. I'll say this. I think Indy covers 7.
Ooh, okay. That was my question.
Yeah, I think Indy will cover.
Yeah, I think you're right in that the Colts, if they are going to stand any chance in this game, have to run for 200 yards. I think they have to get Jonathan Taylor going. I think they have to fire up Naheem Hines. If Wilkins is off the COVID list, we need to mix him in just to grind out like 6 or 7 yards, on 8 or 9 carries. Like, we have got to run the ball down the Bills' throat. We cannot ask 40-year-old Phillip Rivers and that, diminishing arm strength to push the ball into tight windows in 20-degree Buffalo weather. This Buffalo defense is not fearsome, but I just am having flashbacks to the last time we played a cold weather game against a really strong team. We got our absolute doors blown off in Kansas City in Andrew Luck's last professional football game. So I am worried. I think this team, for me right now, I think the Bills are the best team in the NFL. I think it's them, and I think it's the Packers. In terms of who is playing the best right now, I think we've seen Kansas City. We know what the ceiling is for the Chiefs, but they've been a little asleep at the wheel. Most of their wins this year have been one-score wins. They have not blown anybody out. The Bills just beat the brains out of the Dolphins with Josh Allen playing a half of football. So that scares me. I think the Bills cover. I think they probably win this thing by 7 or 10 points. Now, if the Colts can be successful in running the ball, I think we have a chance. But if we try to get away from that game plan, I think we're going to get absolutely smoked in this game.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, in my opinion, you guys are just going to have to pray for turnovers from Buffalo. I mean, that's your only shot. I don't think you have the offense that can hang with them. Diggs and Josh Allen, they're locked in right now. Gabriel Davis is playing good. John Brown's back. Even though the running backs don't give them much, it doesn't really matter because Josh Allen is so good at running the ball. So they're just good. They're a good all around team. But you're right though. The defense, it can be exploited. We've seen them. They've people can put up points on them. So yeah, I mean, you have a shot. You just obviously you just got to you need some things to fall your way, I think. But I kind of think it's going to be like a 10-14 Buffalo win. Unfortunately, Connie, sorry.
Win the turnover battle and win the time of possession. I think if you can do both those things, if you're Indy, you're going to come out ahead. And that's probably a big stat on that. That's probably just like, no duh. But especially with, a team like this that you can keep Josh Allen off the field and not try to, because what's going to happen is, and just, again, this is not a breaking news here, but when you play from behind, you got to start asking to throw, and we got a backup left tackle in. We're going to ask Phil to do too much, and that is when the boat race is on. If you can, finish drives and, control how much time you have the ball by running JT, like Josh said, use the whole committee there with Wilkins and Hines and spread that ball out and stop asking, Phillip Rivers to do something he's not, and that's throw for 300 yards or even, 250, 275. All we need from Phil max is about 200 to 250 max. And those backs, we need a 100+ yard back about every game to ensure that we're probably running the ball enough and effectively to get a win. So we'll see. Probably cautiously optimistic. I'll probably get my heart ripped out, but I'm ready for it. Bring it on, baby.
Ready to feel pain. And Addy, we should mention here that your playoff ranks, they're weird because it's sort of like a survivor pool. It's weird when you see a guy like Chris Barnes ranked above Darius Leonard. But it's based on confidence. How confident are you that these teams are going to continue on in the playoffs and give you more games and more scoring? So that informs here. I'm looking at your ranks, and you've got some Bills guys in the mix. Jordan Poyer is your third ranked safety. And you have Tre'Davious White down here as your, it looks like, sixth ranked cornerback. And
Teron
also
Johnson.
Yeah, Teron Johnson at number 2. So you've got both the cornerbacks for the Bills ranked very high. Mm-hmm. And then Tremaine Edmonds is your, looks like, fourth linebacker.
Yeah, and that's just because I think they're going to get at least 2 games. I like I mentioned, I think they win this game at Indy, and that's really what you're looking for in these fantasy playoffs. You're looking for guys that get more games because the more games, the more stats your guys can rack up. And I think they're a shoo-in for 2 games, and I think they have a good shot at playing 3 because I agree with you. I think that I don't know if I think they're the best team in football, but I think they are top 3 right now.
Yeah, and the Bills are nice, even more appealing to me than the Chiefs because the Chiefs, I think, can go to the Super Bowl, but I think the Bills can too, and the Bills get an extra game. So I'm going to be loading up on Buffalo Bills because that's the team I think can give you the most games out of the AFC. So that's what you want to do. What?
You better not bet against Indy and bet on Buffalo.
I don't know if I could do that. That would just be, even if I won money, I wouldn't feel good. It's obviously hedging your bets. Like if you bet the Bills and then you win, you won money. If the Colts win and you lose money, then the Colts won, so you feel fine. It makes logical sense. I don't know that I could bet against my favorite team in Vegas, though. That would feel kind of icky.
Those win-wins are dirty, man. That's dirty money, so you don't want any of that. They don't exist in real life, and they don't exist in the gambling world either, so stay away. It will make you feel bad, even if you actually get that money, and if you lose it, you'll be mad too. So that'd be one I wouldn't touch. I don't ever bet on my teams, especially it's just conflict of interest. That's just my degenerate gambling advice, whatever it's worth.
It's worth a lot. That's what you bring to the pod. You are a true degenerate gambler. So, Colts not going to be very high up in the IDP ranks on Addy's list here. Darius Leonard, the highest ranked guy. It looks like you have, Kari Willis and Julian Blackmon, DeForest Buckner and Kenny Moore, Justin Houston, the mainstays. But again, if you think that the Colts are going to lose this first game against the Bills, those are probably players you want to stay away from. So let's move on now to the 3:40 kickoff here. It's the Rams versus the Seahawks. Seattle favored by 4 over under 42.5. Addy, I have to think this line is a little weird right now because we don't know if we're going to get Jared Goff, if we're going to get old Wolford back there. So I think right now the Vegas line, I think you could see this shift a lot if we get clarity closer to kickoff in terms of who's going to be behind center.
Yeah, I don't know that it matters, though. I mean, I don't feel good about the Rams either way. I mean, if you're Seattle, who would you rather face? Would you rather face Goff, who has, who's going to be obviously dealing with some thumb issues and throwing the football potentially? Or do you want this guy that can kind of do, different things and move around a little bit? And I don't know. I mean, I don't. Either way, I don't think that they're getting past Seattle. Although Seattle has been uninspiring, the last half of the season. They stopped letting Russ cook. They started pounding the rock, and the offense has gotten stale, and they've they've been just that, what they normally do. They hang around these games you think they blow teams out in, and that always does give you some concern. But I just think you have to trust with it being the playoffs and the experience of Russ, the experience of Carroll. They brought in Dunlap to kind of help with that defensive line. Jaron Reed's coming on at the right time. Wagner's just so solid in the middle. KJ Wright's a solid vet. Then you have Jamal Adams doing his thing with like 9 sacks as a safety. I mean, I think they're going to be fine. I really, they have kind of lulled us asleep these last few weeks. But if a team can turn it on and ride off their experience, it's got to be Seattle.
Yeah, you have them ranked 3rd in the NFC in your confidence ranks. And should mention, Buffalo was 2 for you. Indy was 7 in the AFC confidence ranks. I don't know how to feel about this game because the Seahawks just sputtered so poorly and played so poorly down the stretch. And these two teams split during the regular season. You saw in week number 10, the Rams beat them 23-16. And then again in week, looks like 16 they played, and the Seahawks won 20-9. So I don't know what we take away from that. I don't know if Wolford is an upgrade over Goff, who is nursing the broken thumb. Apparently there were some shots of him in that week 17 matchup where Wolford played where he was spinning the ball pretty well pregame. So if I had to guess, I would say that Jared Goff is going to be under center. It came out, we'll talk more about it here when we get to the Washington football team, that Ron Rivera might rotate in Taylor Heineke with Alex Smith, which is kind of perplexing. I don't know what you're seeing in Taylor Heineke that makes you want to get him on the field over Alex Smith, but maybe that says how limited Smith is with this calf injury. But there's a chance that you might also see John Wolford and Jared Goff rotated in a similar fashion here in this game if Goff is not entirely healthy. But if I had to put money on it, which I will be, I think I am going to bet the Seahawks here. I think they're the better team. Whether it is Goff or Wolford, I'm just not trusting either quarterback in this game for the Rams. It's funny, I think Sean McVay might have more confidence in John Wolford than he does in Jared Goff. A lot of the smart football people I trust say that you can see Sean McVay coaching around the $100 million man in Jared Goff. So I think that's something to watch. We know the Los Angeles defense tops in the league this year in several defensive categories. This is a stout defense. But we know the Seattle defense is playing better. And if they can, maybe they were lulling us all to sleep, the Seahawks. Maybe they're going to unleash Russ and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in this game and just let Russ throw for 450 yards and 5 touchdowns. I'm taking the Seahawks. I like them to cover. Connie, what about you?
Same thing. Seahawks, they're going to cover. I don't think it matters in LA if it's Goff or whoever. They're just nothing's been the same since the Super Bowl for them. You thought they'd have this team that could come back and continue to compete. Same thing with what looks to be with the 49ers this year. It's like, who is this team? I mean, they've lost Buckner and some pieces as well, but I just think at the end of the day, Russ is going to get a chance to do what he does in the playoffs, and Pete Carroll and him seem to have a great relationship as to how they want to attack each team, what they want to emphasize. And I think like a lot of great teams, especially in the playoffs, is they're not just susceptible to being one identity and one identity only. They are a play to your strengths teams and attack the weakness of the team you're playing. You always hear about Belichick talking about that, and other, successful playoff coaches talking about that. And I think Pete's one of those guys. So I'll take the Seahawks, and I'll take them to cover as well, whether it's Jared Goff, Blake Bortles, or who cares? I mean, it's not going to matter in my opinion.
Yeah, Addy, some Seahawks players that you had ranked pretty highly. You have Carlos Dunlap, pretty high up in the defensive end rankings. You got Bobby Wagner, of course. We love B-Wags there in the linebacking core. And then, of course, Jamal Adams and his 9 sacks is your, it looks like, 4th-ranked safety.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're going to. I think they're going to get 2 games. I think they're going to win this game, and then I think they maybe lose the next round. Um, so yeah, that's kind of why I don't have maybe Jamal Adams higher or Wagner higher. But 2 solid games out of those guys, that's really all you need. I mean, they could, 2 games out of those could be equal to 4 games out of Tremaine Edmonds or someone for the Anthony Hitchens for the Chiefs. That's just kind of have to play these things.
Yeah, it's such a delicate dance of this player is clearly so much better, but I think this team is going to get way more games, so I have to rank them higher just because the point total will probably be in this guy's favor, even though he's an inferior player. There's an axiom, I think, that is particularly relevant come playoff time, and you'll see it here with my picks. When in doubt, I'm going to pick the better quarterback. Josh Allen, clearly the better quarterback in the Colts-Bills matchup. Russell Wilson, clearly better than either Jared Goff or John Wolford. So give me the Seahawks. Let's keep it rolling here. The Saturday night game. Addie's, I would say, favorite team of the 2020 season. The Tampa Brady Buccaneers versus the Washington football teamers. This is the 7:15 kickoff here Central Time. Bucks favored by 8, over under a 45. Addie, I think this might be the blowout of the weekend. I know it's a low over-under at 45. Tampa Bay does get some love here, favored by 8. I think this could be 42-24 type of game here.
Yeah, I think so. Although Tampa Bay, it depends on what team you're going to get. I mean, I love the way they finished the season, but it was a pretty cupcake schedule to close out. Washington's defense is for real, but I don't think the elements will be an issue in this one. Although it is at Washington, I mean, that's right. I was thinking it was going to be at Tampa Bay, but Washington's actually the 4th seed. So I mean, we'll have to check that out. I mean, that it could be a sloppy one. I mean, that's what Washington has to hope for, I would think. That's the only way they're going to stay in this game. No Mike Evans, it would seem, so that sucks. But thank God it wasn't like an ACL tear or anything like that. It seems like it was just he hyperextended it, and he's probably going to miss this round. I would think, but still got Antonio Brown, still got Chris Godwin, still got Scotty Miller, still got Rob Gronkowski, still got Tom Brady. So they're going to be just fine. I'm excited to see this defense in prime time. This is, I think that the Tampa Bay Bucks, that they can be the team that they can be one of those lower seeds that rides it out and actually makes some noise and maybe makes it to the championship, the NFC championship. I don't know. But I really like them. I think that we're getting 2 games out of them and maybe 3.
Yeah, this is probably my 4th ranked offense. Chiefs, Bills, Packers, then probably the Bucks, especially if you get Mike Evans back. And even without him, you've got Antonio Brown starting to round into form here. Oh, just, who we thought might be the greatest receiver of all time a few years ago as your 3rd banana there.
Yeah.
And it's Tom Brady. Like, it's Tom Brady in the playoffs. And if they can get this defense back healthy, I just think the ceiling for them is so high. Now, the floor is low. We have seen the floor. When this team plays poorly and it doesn't show up, things go horribly wrong. But I just think the Washington football team has a nice defense, especially a defensive line, which can get after a 3-year-old Tom Brady. But I just don't think, Connor, that they have the offensive weapons to keep pace in what I think is going to be a shootout, because I think the Bucs are going to put points on the board.
It's going to be a bloodbath. I'm telling you right now, and I hate to dunk on some of these teams like I have been tonight, so just forgive me, but it's going to be a bloodbath. I mean, I think they're absolutely going to destroy the football team. I think they're going to hang points on them and send a message showing that they're in stride. And if that last game was any indicator, I mean, Tommy was moving the ball around very well, and I think was able to get AB like a $500,000 bonus on some creative shovel passes there towards the end to get him like 8 receptions that he needed. So Tom's got weapons, and he's got weapons about as well as he has ever had in his career. He's got an offensive-minded coach. I think they're going to – I would take the over, and I would think that Tampa may cover it by themselves. I'm not kidding. I think they're going to put up 40, 50-point range, and you could see a shutout in the playoffs. I mean, I know Washington has a few pieces themselves, but I just think this Tampa team is really going to set the tone. Biggest tone-setting game, I think, of the weekend.
Also, hey, what about Tom Brady having like his third best year of his career?
Yeah,
You called it, Eddie. You were a little off with your 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards prediction, but
Yeah,
man, he has looked really good this year.
he's cooking, man. And me and Markham were just talking the other day about well, I guess Brady will retire after next year. I've said that shit for 5 years now, and I'm sick of it. I'm ready for him to retire, but he's not going to. He's going to keep eating avocado ice cream and kicking your ass in the playoffs. So guess what, NFL? It doesn't matter where he plays. The Pats are on the outside looking in, and Michael Myers moved down to Tampa Bay, and he's about to come dice your ass up in the NFC now. So y'all enjoy that. We're going to let the AFC have a little more peace. And I hope, if nothing else, since we didn't get our Brady Rogers Super Bowl, I don't know if it can line up where they could play in the NFC Championship. That would be – I would love to see – I don't care what round it is, but I'd love to see those two play to go to a Super Bowl.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, oh, man, it'd be excellent.
Yeah, man. I mean, think about the matchups that we potentially are going to have this offseason in the playoffs. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, you're right. That could be, the game to get to the Super Bowl, and then it could be Tampa Bay versus Kansas City, or Green Bay versus Kansas City, or Green Bay versus Buffalo. I mean, it doesn't matter really. I mean, there's so many good matchups this year. We're blessed. We're very blessed.
Yeah, I think most people would probably say the Saints and the Packers are the two favorites in the
Saints.
NFC. But I think the Bucks could be that berserker team that we look up and we say, wait, how are they in the Super Bowl? Oh, wait, it's Tom Brady. And, Addy, I know even though they are your fifth-ranked team in terms of confidence in the NFC, you've got a lot of their guys ranked very high. Devon White, your number 1 overall linebacker. Levante David, number 3. JPP, that was for you, Connor. Never going to do that again. That felt really dirty. As your number 3 defensive end. And you have Carlton Davis as your 5th-ranked cornerback. So you like these Bucks guys.
Sorry, actually, they are my 3rd. That just means they're the 5th seed, Joshy.
Sorry, baby.
But yeah, I mean, I love them. I mean, I think that we're going to get 2 or 3 games out of them. But yeah, I mean, the main guys you want to target, Devon White. I mean, he, if you're talking about like where you should take these guys off the board, he's in consideration for I'd say like top 5 IDP. I mean, even if you get 2 games, that could be 20 tackles and 3 sacks. So he's just a monster. I mean, he's a great option. So is Levante David, JPP, Connor's boy, and then Shaq Barrett. I expect him to have a potentially nice postseason. But yeah, just tons of great options on that defense. I mean, I love their options at corner, and then I like Jordan Whitehead is really underrated and useful. Winfield's is great. I mean, they're really fun on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, Devon White. I'm so ready to watch my thick baby in a Las Vegas rooftop pool just absolutely ball out, maybe get like 3 sacks and a pick 6 or something wild. I'm looking forward to it. I'm taking him 101. I'm taking him in the first round, Daddy. I don't even care anymore. I'm going Sigmund Bloom and Shark City and just blowing up the whole thing.
Love it. I love it. And hey, if you would have done that this year, it would have probably worked out okay for you.
That's right. So we should revise here, Addy. Sorry, I didn't realize that was the seeding. So, yeah, Tampa Bay is your 3rd-ranked team in terms of confidence. Seattle is 4th. The Colts were actually 6th, and the Bills were 2nd. So let's move now to Sunday and talk about these 3 games we got here. What a weekend of football, fellas. Not really a bad matchup on the slate because even with a game that involves the Washington football team, you get to watch Tom Brady potentially eviscerate this football teamer's defense. So I am very excited. But we kick things off with a nice revenge game possibility. The 12:05 kickoff. The Ravens versus the Titans. Baltimore favored by 3.5. Over under of 55. It's the highest over under of the weekend. only the second one in the 50s, one of two. Addy, Titans versus Ravens. This was the Titans team that bounced the Ravens, one of the greatest regular season teams in NFL history, out the playoffs last year. How do you see this one playing out?
Toss-up city for me. I mean, I would not put any money on this game. I don't have really a good read on it at all. I mean, Lamar's going to be able to do tons of things against that defense. But, Tennessee is going to be able to probably run Henry for 200 yards. I mean, Tannehill's really solid. I mean, A.J. Brown can do some things. I mean, that Ravens defense can give up points and get thrown on and stuff too. So, man, I don't have a good read on it. This is like anything can happen here. I mean, what do you boys think? Are you guys confident either way when it comes to this matchup?
I think honestly, and I mean, just like I have rose-colored goggles for the Colts, I have turd-colored goggles for the Titans. I hate the Titans, so I'm always actively hoping to find ways that they're going to blow games. But I agree, man. I think it's going to be a points fest. So the fact that you've got one of the higher over/unders makes sense. Titans have been putting up points, as have the Ravens here. I mean, I think the Ravens are like 5-0 in their last 5 games. Offensively, they've been hitting their stride, it seems like, and kind of rediscovering their identity as a team. So I'm like you, though, Adam, in terms of spread and who's covering what. It's a tight spread for a reason. It'd be one I would stay away from. So put a gun to my head, make me pick a team. I'll take the Titans again to upset the Ravens.
2 good coaches. That's what's tough about this one.
Yeah,
like
that's
Brady,
true.
Man.
It is 2 good offenses. I would give the slight edge to the Titans in that department just because the Ravens offense, even though it's been playing better, has been a little anemic at times this season. The Ravens defense, I would give them a slight edge. I think the Titans defense is the worst unit in this game. So I think that would be the deciding factor for me. If all things are relatively equal, I'll take the team that has this slightly superior defense because they stand the chance of stopping the other team in a shootout. And I think you see that reflected here in the game line. It's not Baltimore by a lot, but it is Baltimore by a little in a shootout. And I think that is reflective of the fact this Titans defense just not that good. So even though Tannehill and A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry can put up points in bunches, so can the Ravens, and I think their defense stands a little better chance of slowing down the Titans. So give me the Ravens. I'm not putting any money on this game, but like Connor, if I had to pick a team, gun to my head, I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah,
so
I think
Addy,
that's the right call.
Yeah, in terms of your confidence, you have them as the 4th pick here in your confidence ranks. And who are some of the guys that you're looking at off this Baltimore Ravens team?
Yannick obviously is going to be someone we're targeting. Caleus Campbell. Patrick Queen's probably the big one here. He's just, he had a really great rookie year, over 100 tackles, has big play potential. That's probably your number one target from the Ravens for IDPs. And then Chuck Clark, he's been really solid. Deshaun Elliott is the opposite safety there. He's okay. He plays deeper. Chuck Clark's gonna be the guy that gets you more tackles and stuff. Cornerback, Marlon Humphrey, probably worth a top 5 cornerback pick this year. Just type of player that just fills up the stat sheet, gets a lot of tackles, makes things happen. One of the best corners in the league. I mean, we saw him get paid this offseason by Baltimore. Or maybe that was during the season. Either way, Patrick Queen, Marlon Humphrey, those are probably my 2 favorite Ravens.
Will you have a single Titans IDP player on your fantasy playoff team, Addy?
I don't think I will. I don't think I will, man.
Yeah, just Malcolm Butler? Maybe.
But yeah. He had a great year. I think he finished as the number 1 overall corner in a lot of formats. But yeah, I mean, they're just David Long's been playing good. You could get him late if that might be a nice little sleeper pick if you think they're going to get 2 games. Rashaan Evans is fine. But I just don't have confidence you're going to get 2 games, and I just don't want to. I can't risk it with that.
They have a great equalizer in Derrick Henry, the Yeti. I mean, running for like 250 against the Texans. Now, the Texans' defense is terrible. The Ravens, though, they aren't world beaters by any stretch. But this defense, I can't take them seriously with how bad this defense is. If this defense was even like a C+, B-, I would look at them as a potential like dark horse Super Bowl contender. But I just don't think they're good enough in that regard. And unfortunately, as good as Henry has been, as good as Tannehill has been, 40 total touchdowns for Tannehill, which is incredible there, considering how his career started at Miami. I just can't take the Titans seriously. So let's move on now. Another game, probably the one I would say this may be the one I'm least excited about. Tampa Bay and Washington would be up there as well, just because the football teamers are so terrible. But Bears at Saints, 3:40 kickoff. Saints favored by 9.5, over under 47.5. So Vegas is not liking these Bears. I think they're seeing them as a potentially fraudulent team that snuck in the back door of the playoffs, Connie. Do you have any faith in Mr. I love to kiss titties having any shot here against this fearsome Saints defense?
This is the fraud alert bowl is what this is. So the Bears are going to get exposed in this, again, as I continue on my flamethrower episode of just absolutely just nuking teams I disagree with. But if this is Brees' last year and he didn't break another rib this past week, they're going to eviscerate some teams. Like you all mentioned, behind Green Bay, they're probably the number 2. I'm like you all. I think Tampa's a true 2A, 2B with the Saints. But they're going to nuke the Bears. It's going to be bad. Shout out our guy Big Cat. It's just going to be a rough weekend if you're a Bears fan after they clawed and fought their way in. And look, man, it could happen to Indy as well. So we'll see. I don't have as much concern with New Orleans being able to take care of business. I think Vegas is telling us up front, hey, we know what's going to happen here as a 2-score spread to start things.
Yeah, if you give me a chance, Addy, to bet against Mitchell Trubisky in the playoffs, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put money on this game. I like the Saints to cover, even though it's a big spread. I think this could be a 14 to 17 point game.
Yeah, I think so too. Luckily for the Saints, it is at New Orleans. If it was at Chicago, I could see it being kind of weird. The Saints are they are prone to do that stuff too, like lay down with the opponents you think they should stomp on. But yeah, I think it's going to be New Orleans. I mean, they got to win it for Brees. If they don't, man, that's going to be sad.
Yeah, Brees. How many ribs does Brees have to break before he can get another ring? Does he have to break them all, Connie?
He's doing the Marilyn Manson thing, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes, sir. Hey,
I was going to say that was my favorite urban legend as a kid.
I think that's a true thing.
Yes,
I don't know.
sir.
I'm going to have to check Snopes.com on that one, Connie.
He's a tall dude, man. He's like 6'7". He's a big dude. I don't know if you know
Marilyn
that.
Manson is 6'7"?
Dude, I swear, he's like 6'5", 6'7". You ever seen him standing up at his shows? He's a monster.
I'm looking
Connor's
this
a
up.
big Marilyn Manson fan.
Connor,
He went through a
He's 6'1". He's 6'1".
Dude, I swear, I thought I had read that he was like 6'5" or taller. I may be thinking of another one of those like insane rock guys, but there's one that's like you can see at his shows. He's a super tall dude.
So you
Connor
heard it
went
here
through a
first.
big goth phase. He went through a big goth phase in high school.
Yeah. I used to wear like just eye black and shit like that.
Puka shell
Fishnets.
necklaces. Yeah.
I did have a puka shell necklace at one point, but
Everyone
did.
everyone had a puka shell necklace. But you heard it here first on the Big 3 IDP podcast. Drew Brees broke his ribs so he could S his own D.
Marilyn Manson now, who's now
this-
6'7".
Yes,
Listen,
it was-
it's almost 11 o'clock here. I can't be held responsible for the shit that comes out of my mouth from like 10:30 on.
that's true. 10:30 on, it's just like unfiltered Connie, and we
Just look
absolutely
around,
love it.
it's like,
You think that maybe that's why he's retiring? Because he realized, like, holy hell, this is amazing. I don't have time to play football anymore.
Yeah, I'm
I
like,
think you realize,
let's get these
holy
playoffs
shit,
over.
I better not do this anymore. If I keep like breaking ribs and like messing up my like internal structure of my body, this is your sign type stuff. But yeah, man, I think it's a tone setting game, and I think they're going to absolutely send a message to the NFC that they can and will compete with anybody, and they're going to just absolutely mow through teams. But yeah, Mark, that's a good point of what would happen if you had to play in Chicago in January, just like Indy having to go play in Buffalo here, Saturday at noon. Now, I'm glad talking about playing when you're playing in Buffalo. I'd much rather play Saturday at noon than be playing Saturday evening and Sunday evening when it's probably 20 and 30 degree difference. So, we'll see. Playoffs are tricky, man. That's why you play the game, baby.
You play to win the game. And, Addy, if we see Drew Brees turn down this NBC contract, we'll know he's gotten way too much into S in his own D with those broken ribs.
Sure.
So just a storyline to track in the offseason.
This make sure in the title for this episode is like is Drew Brees the new Marilyn Manson?
Is he 6'7"? Drew Brees and Marilyn Manson the same height, Connor. Both 6'1".
Drew Brees is not 6'1".
Maybe in his cleats he is.
Drew Brees is short. He's a short dude.
All right, Addy.
Go ahead.
No,
Big old wing, no.
he didn't have to break his ribs to get it in there, but let's talk about your defensive guys for the Saints, Addy. I don't think, much like the Tennessee Titans, I don't think we're going to be having many Bears on our lineups here. But who are the Saints guys we should be paying attention to for IDP?
Yeah, on the defensive line, we have some nice options. Trey Hendrickson, who had a breakout year for us. He had over 10 sacks, which was just kind of out of nowhere. Cameron Jordan, who I think can turn it on. He kind of had a letdown year, but he's actually one of my top options. He may be the top option just because I think that they have a good shot at 2 to 3 games, and that could be 3 to 4 sacks for someone like Cameron Jordan. So that would be where I would target. Also, the defensive tackle, blanking on his name, David Onyemata. Onyemata. He's pretty solid. I think he had like 6 sacks for a defensive tackle. So that's an option there for you. Linebacker, obviously, Demario Davis, absolute stud. Guy that, gets 10 tackles on the reg. That's who I would target there. Linebacker. Outside of him, though, Quan Alexander went down, what was it, like week 17, last week of the regular season?
Yeah, 16 or 17 with the Achilles injury.
So, I don't really trust, we don't know enough about what that's going to look like. So I would just mainly target Demario Davis out of the linebackers. A lot of nice options, though, in the secondary. Malcolm Jenkins been great this year. I think, he finished like top 8, but love seeing that. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, our boy, he's a nice option at cornerback. Same with Marshawn Lattimore, even though he doesn't get targeted a lot. He's just a volume play because we think that he's going to get a lot of games. PJ Williams, another cornerback. Just tons of nice options out there for the Saints. And if you believe in them, that's a team you should target. Because, I think the general consensus is going to be people loading up on Chiefs, Packers, Bills, and then even the Bucks. People are going to believe in Brady and kind of what they're doing there. I think the Saints are going to be one of these teams that are kind of under the radar. People kind of forgot about them with, the way they ended the year with Taysom Hill coming in and kind of doing some things, and then Brees getting hurt, and they didn't really set the world on fire to finish the year or anything. Kamara did, but I think that they're a nice little dark, kind of being slept on a little bit, even though they're a top 2 seed.
Do we know Alvin Kamara has a chance to come off the COVID list? Do we know if Michael Thomas is playing in this game? He went on short-term IR, so I don't know. I haven't seen yet if he's actually going to be back for the Saints or not.
I would think so, but yeah, that's a good point. Even without him, though, they should be fine. You still got Emmanuel Sanders, still got Jared Cook. Kamara will do his thing. They'll be fine.
Yeah, it looks like I'm reading the Saints wire right now. Drew Brees eager to reunite with well-rested Michael Thomas. So
nice.
It seems like he's going to be back. So yeah, that's a big upgrade, and I think they'll get Kamara back as well if he continues to test negative, because he was one of those players who actually tested positive. He wasn't just a close contact situation.
Even if not, Ty Montgomery was just fine out there this week.
He
But
was.
Taysom Hill back there, finally commit to it. Be like, look, Taysom, you're going to actually take snaps at running back and see what you can do. See if you're truly
You're basically Tim Tebow.
That's exactly right. A right-handed Tim Tebow. What do you call him on the DFSSS, Addy? Steve Old?
Steve Old. That's not mine. But that's what he is.
We're crediting you. That's an Addy original.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, last game of the day, Sunday night, and some late-breaking news. My heart breaks for Mark Sessler, Mike Waller, John Macri, all the Browns fans that we know. Addy, comes out today that Kevin Stefanski tested positive for COVID-19, will not coach Sunday in this game. Joel Bitonio, their all-pro guard, also out for this game. They have, I believe, 13 players on the COVID IR list between last week and this week. So this team has absolutely been decimated. I think they're going to roll into this playoff game against the Steelers with 2 in-person practices. 2 in-person practices between that game they played last week against the Steelers and this one. Everything is stacking up to go against the Browns. It's Browns, Steelers favored by 6. I think you'll see that line continue to go up. I think it gets to 7, over under 46. Connor, are the Browns cursed?
Yes. Yeah, it's going to, and you know what? You got in. So enjoy it. You deserve to get in. You belong. And, you got 3 teams in from the North and one that's going to be better and should have competed as well to, have a chance, but they're not there yet. Burrow gets hurt. Their line is terrible. So, hey, it was a crowded room, but you got in. And now I think Pittsburgh, they almost beat you with their JV team. I think there is a part of me that looked at saying I think Pittsburgh honestly knew the way things were likely going to shake out and just kind of took a bomb on that, thinking we will gladly play the Browns again for 3 times in a handful of weeks. Gladly. And I think if you're playing a rested Big Ben and you've got guys that are lost due to COVID, practice interruptions, coach non-availability, I hate it. I hate it for the fine folks of Northeast Ohio, but Pittsburgh's going to do it to you. So
yeah, I don't have a lot of confidence in Pittsburgh. I don't see them as this power in the AFC. They were so hot and cold this season. Started off great, absolutely hit the skids until, of course, the Colts came to town. They woke up in that second half. But I just think this is the matchup I wish the Colts had gotten. I wish we could have gotten the Browns somehow. Because this was the team I wanted to play. Even before all this COVID stuff started, I'm happy they're in the playoffs. Like you said, Connor, they deserve to be there. But I just think this is another situation where we could see the game get away from the Browns pretty quickly. Baker Mayfield's throwing these crazy bomb passes downfield that are getting picked off by, Joe Hayden and Minka Fitzpatrick. I just don't see this going the Browns' way, which I hate. I know a lot more Browns fans than I do Steelers fans, and I wish them well. I wish this could go a different way. But, Addy, I'll be taking the Steelers to cover that spread. And we'll see how far they go in the playoffs. Maybe this is a team that's battle-tested from what they've been through this season and could go on a run, but I'm not banking on it with the other teams there in the AFC.
Yeah, I don't hate the matchup with the Steelers because, they play down to their opponent constantly. When you think that they're going to come through, they never do. So this would be a classic game for them to just lay over, especially with all the the news where that's come out where it's like, oh, okay, well, the Browns are going to be at a huge disadvantage with the COVID and no coaching and all that stuff. So definitely that chance there, but I agree with you boys. I wouldn't put any money on the Browns. I think it's going to be the Steelers, but we haven't seen them look the same. I don't really know what to pinpoint it or where to pinpoint it, but it seemed like when Bud Dupree went out, that was a huge loss. They lost Devin Bush earlier in the year, but he wasn't playing that great to begin with, and they brought in Avery Williamson, who's done fine to replace him. But I think losing Bud Dupree was a huge hit to that defense and that unit being able to create pressure. So I think they really miss him. but I like them. I like them to move forward in this game.
Yep, agreed. Who are some of the IDP options, Addy, we should be taking a look at from this Pittsburgh Steelers team?
Yeah, so the Steelers, I mean, they're still loaded up front, even though they don't have Bud Dupree. I mean, you got Cameron Hayward, who's a great option, defensive tackle. We all know about T.J. Watt. He could be listed as a DN in your league, maybe a linebacker, likely a linebacker, I'd say. Alex Highsmith, another guy that's really solid, and he's filled in for Bud Dupree, and he's done a fine job. Those would be my three targets on the defensive line. Linebacker, it's going to be Avery Williamson, who finished so strong week 16 and 17. I think he had like 30 points that last week, so he finished out great. I do think they're getting Robert Spillane back, so we'll see what the usage looks like there with him, but I expect Avery to kind of be the guy. Cornerback, they have Mike Hilton, who's solid, always makes a ton of plays, makes a ton of tackles, just a playmaker type, kind of similar to Kenny Moore there in Indy. And then cornerback, they have Joe Hayden, solid option, just because volume. We think they're going to get 2 games. We think they're going to beat the Brown Eyes, and they're going to get another game. So him, and then in the secondary, the safeties, we have Minka, and we have Terrell Edmonds, both those great options.
Yep. So that is our preview for Super Wildcard Weekend, which is the official branding from the NFL. We didn't make this up. That's actually what they're calling this weekend of games now, with the triple headers on back-to-back days. Go check out Addy's IDP ranks at big3idp.com if you'd like to see where the Packers and Chiefs players fall on those rankings. Give the listeners a reason to go check out the site, Addy. But to wrap things up, fellas, one of my favorite things about our playoff fantasy league is each week seeing who the highest scoring player is for that week. And so non-quarterback, give me your highest scoring offensive player from week 1 of the NFL playoffs.
That's good right there.
And I will give you my pick because I was thinking about this as I knew I was going to ask this question. I'll give you guys some time to think. I think it is the off-season wide receiver addition in Buffalo. Stephon Diggs is going to be the highest scoring offensive player for week 1, not quarterback. Connie, what about you?
I'm going to go Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. Okay, good choice. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Derrick Henry ran for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm kind of seeing like 100, 120 yards, maybe a couple TD grabs for Stephon Diggs. That's kind of the narrative that I'm painting there.
And if not, give me Claypool. If I need to have a receiver to throw in there as well, I think Claypool in Pittsburgh is going to absolutely nuke Cleveland, and I think he's their best receiver that Pittsburgh's seen in a long time.
All right. Oh, I like that dark horse pick there, Addy.
Actually, I was going to go in Pittsburgh too, but I was going to go a different direction. I'm going with Deontay Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah, I just agree. I mean, I think that they're going to destroy the Browns secondary, and Deontay Johnson is Big Ben's favorite target, so I think we could see a big game from Deontay.
And on the defensive side, I'm not going with anybody but my baby Devon White. I think this is his time to shine. He'll be pissed that he had to miss that Week 17 game, being on the COVID list as a close contact. So I think Devon White is going to go out there and put up a monster performance.
Yeah, I'll go Darius Leonard. Probably just still Connors, but yeah, I mean, it's a good week to use Darius Leonard because I don't think they'll be advancing.
I will
Connie,
also take Darius Leonard.
I was going to say, I don't think you're going any direction but Darius Leonard there.
No, watch how he played last week. There's a hit that he had in like the second or third quarter on one of his sacks. Literally thought he killed the guy. So he needs no motivation. So if he's going to get to go into Buffalo, into the Hornets' nest, you could be the first 7 seed to ever win the Super Bowl. So it's that uber underdog mentality. I mean, if you read about Leonard, he's kind of a psycho about that stuff. I mean, he's like, he'll search his name on Twitter and favorite tweets of people, just normal Joe Schmoes like you and I. So if we ever want to get some clout, talk mad noise about Darius and tweet it, and he'll like it. Promise.
We have. We've done that before.
Yeah.
Made a video calling him out when he wasn't playing. Remember that, Josh?
I do remember that very well. And
Did he like it?
He was scared, didn't say nothing to us.
Man, he knew what would happen.
Gratata.
Addy still checks for Darius Leonard under his bed every night after he put out that video.
That's true.
All right, well, I hope you all have enjoyed this sode. I'm looking forward to playoff football, fellas. And if you're not in a fantasy playoff league, please DM us. Addy will be happy to send out the setup that we use, the scoring that we use, all the good stuff. Addy, do we have an update? Do you know if we're going to be able to use MFL or the old spreadsheet for our league?
I think so. I think we're going to be able to get it actually automated for the first time ever. Typically, I've been using just a Google spreadsheet to, I've been manually keeping up with all the stats. So that's been a pain in the ass. So it'll be nice to have all that stuff done for me. But yeah, MFL, they have it to where you can pretty much do everything over there. You can customize it, however. They get a lot of slack, but man, they really are the best as far as customization goes. But their website is trash, total trash.
I think that's part of the reason they get a lot of flack is because it's so customizable that it just has to look like crap because, they've put all their time and resources into designing like a giant sandbox for you to play in.
It's similar to like RSO. RSO, is not the prettiest looking website, but it's probably just because you can do so damn much on it.
That's right. So give us a DM. We will be happy to help you out with setting up your fantasy playoff league. It's a lot of fun. I look forward to it every year. I'm absolutely terrible at it. I have never even come close. Usually I finish dead last. I just don't pick the winning teams. I don't pick Patriots, so that's come back to bite me. But now I don't have that problem, and it's wonderful. Bye-bye, Patriots. We don't need you in our lives anymore.
Hello, Chiefs.
Hello, Chiefs. Yes, we will take all your players, please, and thank you. Connie, are you looking forward to some football this weekend?
Oh, hey, amen. And a woman.
Yes,
That's what I am. I cannot wait to have football both Saturday and Sunday with some of these matchups we're going to have. Even with games like, the Bears going to get demolished by the Saints or, Tampa Bay coming in and blowing teams' doors off, or maybe even the Colts, right? They may go to Buffalo and just get annihilated. But teams are all here for a reason. It's going to be some great matchups. I want to see somebody get slimed in that Saints-Bears game.
Yes, sir.
I will truly watch Nickelodeon I hope that they try to tune into that, early aughts, 90s, 2000 nostalgia for that audience that's in their 30s like us and watching and has kids of their own that may want, to get them, watching Nickelodeon. So that's like a weird thing I'm kind of looking forward to. Just I always like seeing different platforms host the playoff if it's their first time. So
Like Nickelodeon's hosting that game?
yeah,
It's going to be simulcast on Nickelodeon.
yeah, it'll be simulcasted on there.
That's
It's
badass.
like what happens if you have an Alex Smith injury?
You just have green goo spurting out of his leg instead of blood.
Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, man, I'm stoked. Cannot wait. It's good to be in it. I'm sure Sunday though I'll be a wreck. I'll probably need to value him by Saturday night, Sunday morning. So if you got connections out there, holler at your boy.
At least you get it out of the way, though. That's nice.
Hey, let's just pump the brakes on that. Oh, you mean just the game? I thought
Your game. You can. Yeah, it's over. You can hopefully enjoy it. You'll probably be in too bad of a mood to enjoy it the rest of the games because you're a miserable person.
Ruin my day. Just ruin my day.
My team lost. I'm gonna be mad all day.
I'm going to Venmo Josh $1,000 to bet on games now.
I am. I'm gonna go on just a betting frenzy. So start rejecting my Venmos. Don't gamble my life away.
Connor, you want to do some DFS? Playoff edition, baby.
I want my money to go to Vegas. I just want them to keep having it. I probably owe them some since the last time I've been there, just to keep on my payment plan that I've been on the last 5 to 10 years. So, probably going to be sending you. Actually, I can't say that on here, so we'll cut this out. But yeah, Josh, I will Venmo you some money to legally gamble for me.
Sounds great, baby. Well, we want to, as always, thank our patrons: Joseph, Bobby, Jason, Jeff, Nico, Lauren, Aaron, Tom, and DJ Cowtown. We appreciate y'all. Enjoy the football. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week, as always, recapping this super wild card weekend and talking about some other stuff. We don't know. We kind of get a little loose this time of the year. We just hope you all enjoy the fact that the wheel never stops turning, Addy. The content never stops being produced. We are here for you all while others are sleeping. We's creeping toward that year 3 leap. You know what I mean?
Should have gone with the leap in there. It would have been perfect. You screwed up.
Yeah,
I screwed up.
At an hour and a half exactly here in 15 seconds. So make sure we time this up so it's a nice round hour 30 epi.
I love that,
right.
Connor. I love the way you think, man. You got
All
a good freaking heart.
Connor, time for you to go to bed. Thank you all for listening. We will see you all next week.
This is Big 3 IDP.
Catch us in the league going in every week, racking them points up. Who got the streak? Cause we joking it, having some fun. Yeah, this how the crew getting it done. I'm talking Josh, Adam, and Connor. Yeah, this a command and conquer. Hard hitting, the IR's real. This football, yeah, you know the deal. Cause it's